Okay. So I'm sharing my screen. Just say yes in chat box. And a quick confirmation on my screen. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Srinivas. So we are talking about the controls. As I said, when you are doing any centrifuging, blending operations or grinding operations, crushing and pulverizing, sieving of any flammable or explosive substances. So it is better to perform such activities at inert blanketing or at the uh, inert atmosphere. Earthing and avoidance of source of ignition are also essential, where stirring and heating both are going on. Stirrer failure alarm and a device to cut heat sources are necessary. When you're having stirring and heating, basically like reaction vessels, the classic example will be reactors. So whenever your stirrer stops, so it should also stop the heating source through the jacket. Such a kind of controls we have to install. Then other process and operations. So it is the most more important to understand the chemical processes before understanding their safety aspects. Therefore, uh, absorption of gases. So it is basically solution of gases in liquids or absorption of gases by solids through a whole body. It is in penetration or consumption of one substance by other. Example, scrubbing. So basically in scrubbing, what will happen? We'll have a diluting agent, so it will absorb or dilute the fumes or the gases or vapors which are diverted to the scrubbing. Then adsorption, so it is adherence of substance on surface. The substance that adsorbs is an absorbent, and that is absorbed is absorbate. So basically, here the adherence of substance on a surface absorbs the absorbent, and that is absorbed is absorbate. Absorbate in the sense it consumes it. It is relatively slow penetration and also the consumption of gas or liquid particles through the surface of another substance, mostly solid or liquid. It is used to remove colors, odors, or water vapors through an activated carbon, activated alumina, silica gels. Basically, silica gels even you used to get in any parcels if you book any articles in Flipkart or Amazon, etc. In some of the articles, you will get this silica gel packs so that it can able to adsorb. It uses the that principle to take out the moisture in the packages. So bromination, it is basically a reaction in which one or more the bromine atoms are substituted for the hydrogen atom in an organic uh, molecules. Then catalysis or catalyst. So it is an alteration of rate of chemical reaction by the introduction of substances like catalyst that remains unchanged at the end of the reaction. So when you say catalyst, it's basically it will speed up the reaction process or speed up the reaction rate. It will never involve in the reaction. It will never mix in the process. Small quantities of catalyst are usually sufficient to bring action about or to increase its rate substantially. Even the catalyst, small amount of catalyst also can increase the reaction rates. Then chain reaction, so any self-sustaining molecular or a nuclear reaction, the product of which contribute to an propagation of reactions. I mean, example will be the nuclear reactions, nuclear fusion. So where it will have a continuous reaction, it will explodes, then whatever the fragments, or it will again divides, again the divided particles again it get explodes. There is a continuous reaction. There is no a break for that reactions. Decomposition, so breaking up of chemical compounds under various influences by chemical action of pyrolysis or any electric current electrolysis process, or biological agents, biodegradation. Then distillation, again as usual process. So here the process of converting liquids to vapors, then condensing the vapor and collecting the liquid or distillate. When you say distillate, the product which you have done distillation. So basically the best example will be oil refineries, where they do use the main process is distillation. The crude oil is feeded, then they'll apply a heat, then at particular fractions or at particular temperatures, the sum of the compounds or the products will be divided. Again it is condensated, then they will collect the product. Used for separating mixture of liquids of different boiling points. Yes, when you say boiling point, each boil at each boiling point the specific product will come out. For separating a pure liquid from a non-volatile constituents, like an electrostatic precipitation, it's a widely used method of controlling pollution of air or other gases. The gas containing solid or liquid particles suspended in it, so that the particles are attached to the deposited upon the positive electrode. Basically, it is used for the dust extraction systems or pollution as a pollution control system. Then endothermic process, the process of accompanying by absorption of heat. Then evaporation, so basically conversion of liquids into vapors, so without necessarily reaching the boiling point, used in concentrating solutions by evaporating of the solvents. So without reaching at the boiling points also, here the evaporation can be carried out. Then exothermic, the process which energy in the form of heat is released. In endothermic, will absorption of heat happens. In exothermic, there is a emission of heat, or releasing of the heat. Then extraction, so this is another process, separating a desired constituent, which is nothing but the desired material which you want, from a mixture by means of selective solubility in an appropriate solvent, also used to describe any process by which a pure metal is obtained from ore. So it is nothing but extracting metal from an iron ore. For example, extracting iron from a iron ore. It is a kind of a separation. Then fermentation, it is again a regular process how the fermentation happens for the preparation of various food, even curd also, then even some kind of bakery items. It is a chemical change brought about organic substances by living organisms like yeast, bacteria, as a result of their enzyme actions. Then fractionation column, so along a vertical columns containing rings, plates, or the bubble gaps, that is to attach to a still. As a result of internal reflex, a granular separation takes place between high and low boiling fractions of a liquid mixture. So it is also a similar kind of distillation process. Then freezing, so again it is converting liquids to solids. So it makes a place at a constant temperature or a freezing point, the substance under given pressure, it will uh, convert from liquids to solids. Okay. Then fumigation, so we know about fumigation, especially in the COVID times. So it is the one practice we used to do, people. The destruction of bacteria, insects, and other pests by exposing to poisonous gases. We used to do the fuming in the COVID times. Then hydrogenation, subjecting to a chemical action of causing to combine with the hydrogens. then leaching, washing out of soluble constituents. So basically, this washing off whatever the soluble impurities to take out. Then neutralization, so the addition of acid to alkali or vice versa till either uh, is in excess and also the solution is neutral. It is nothing but neutralizing. We have acids and bases. When you say neutral, water will be the neutral, which means basically you are reducing the concentration of a substance. That is neutralization. Now we'll see the exothermic reactions. So basically, when you talk about exothermic reactions, the main intention is it rises the temperature. In exothermic reaction, the heat is given out as a reaction proceeds. This release of heat rises the temperature of the reaction of the mass. So in the during the reaction process, it raises the heat, resulting the temperature will of the mass in the sense the total chemical approximately by 10 degree rise in the temperature. The reaction rate doubles whenever the rate of temperature of the reaction it reaches to 10-degree rise. The reaction rate doubles in the sense it will faster 1 in 10 times it fast the reaction, thus which increase in temperature reaction proceeds faster and still more heat is given out. Whenever the reaction rate doubles, the temperature also doubles because of that reaction rate. In the chain of operation makes the reaction uncontrollable unless adequate arrangements for removing heat or pressure are provided in the reaction vessel. The chain of reaction. So whenever the exothermic reaction takes place, automatically the uncontrollable heat will releases if your systems are not in place. So you didn't have uh, utility or the brain or chilled brain in your process, it will be difficult to control even pressures. The pressure relief valve, it is not functioning well at the desired set pressure, then there is a chance of an explosion or a rupturing of the vessel. The reaction rate has to be gradually increased so that the reaction does not reach to runaway stage. When I say exothermic, it is a runaway reaction. So that's why we used to heat up the process in a controlled environment. Okay. An example of exothermic reactions are nitration, hallucination, or emanation, alkylation, oxidation, condensation, etc., etc. These are the few examples of these exothermic reactions. So we'll say the vessels of such reaction should be regularly tested by a competent persons, where we do NDT or UT, etc., ultrasound thickness, etc. For the highly exothermal reactions, since the temperature has been increased very gradually, automatic programs are provided which maintain a predetermined rate of rise in the temperature and thus prevent the reaction from reaching runaway stage. So you're based on the controls increasing the temperature so that it can able to prevent the runaway reaction. In addition to safety valves, rupture disc in drowning, that is dump or surge vessel is provided to receive the entire reaction mass in the case of any overpressure or bursting the rupture disc. So rupture disc will be over the safety relief valve. For example, if the safety relief valve is set at 1 kg, maybe rupture disc may be over that 1.5 kg or 1 into 2 kg or 2.5 kg, the rupture disc will be installed. When I say rupture disc, basically it gets it is a one-time application. Once it is opens up, again you have to place a new one. It is a kind of disc, a thin plate. It can open, it can just rupture. How you can rupture a paper using a pencil, the same way it will get rupture actually at certain or set pressures. And the pressure gauge, temperature gauge, high pressure temperature alarm, and also heat source cutoff devices, quenching or process killing devices, safety valve, rupture disc, drowning tanks, cooling device, agitator, feed controls, process controller, drain valve, etc. should be regularly checked and properly maintained. Alternate water, power, and also pumps are required to maintain necessary cooling systems. So these are the few control devices should be in active in state when you're handling these exothermic reactions. We should have an alternative pumps and power to maintain the cooling system to control the temperature of the reaction mass. Okay, those are exothermic reaction. Then pressure and vacuum reactions. So any vessel maintained at pressure above 1 atmosphere is a pressure vessel. The suitable means of pressure release, such as safety valves or rupture disc, should be provided. Gases released from safety valve, if poisonous, should be scrubbed before venting to the atmosphere. So, if it is in a poisonous gases from the reaction or from the relief valve, before it is releasing to the atmosphere, so it has to be neutralized in the scrubbing systems. Flammable gases should be safely contained and cooled. Then emphasis should be laid on a proper design, maintenance, and testing of pressure vessels. Their thickness should be periodically checked for corrosion and also pitting. Pitting is nothing but formation of small holes on the surface or the walls of the vessels. Then pressure vessels should be designed as per the standard IS-2825 and also periodically tested by the competent person. There basically they do NDT and the UT ultrasound thickness. In a solvent vacuum distillation, if a vacuum breaks outside, the air can enter and also make explosive air mixture in the vessels. This may cause fire and explosion. To avoid this vacuum failure, alarm and also at the time inert gas purging device is necessary. So some of the uh, pressure uh, reactions, in case of this vacuum failures, there is a chance of entering or the outside air mixture. So whenever the outside air mixture, these vacuums they do because of avoiding creation of flammable mixtures or gases. So whenever this vacuum system fails, there is a chance of entering the air inside, so that it can create a flammable mixture can catch fire. So whenever such happens, whenever the vacuum system fails, it should activate the inert gas purging. So when we say talk about inert gas purging, immediately the nitrogen has to come into the vessel. That is inert gas purging. So such a type of controls we have to install. On distillation vessel also, an alarm and safety valve are required to indicate any choking and release of any pressures. Any choking means blockage or any pressure. It has to give an alarm so that we can able to check. Flammable and explosive reactions and distillations. So utmost care should be taken during the storage, transport, handling, and the reaction of explosive and flammable materials. So bulk storage of these chemicals come under chief control of explosives. Free fall of flammable liquids should be avoided. So why we need to avoid free fall of flammable liquids? There is a chance of generation of static electricity. That is why all our reactors will have a dip legs. So dip leg in the sense the the chemical which is entering into the reactor, it will be the pipe will be extended till as close as possible to the bottom of the reactor. That is a dip pipes, or we can also call it as a dip leg. Suitable dip pipe should be provided. All lines carrying flammable materials must be bonded by copper clamps or and earthed. So this is also for avoiding the generation of static electricity generation and accumulation. Continuity should be periodically checked, and also resistance earth less than 1 ohm. The pumps handling these chemicals should have a brass or non metal impellers to avoid the sparks due to the friction. So flow velocity should not exceed 6 meters per second in a pipeline to avoid the static charge accumulation. Then reaction of flammable chemicals including solvent distillation should be carried out at very low pressure or under the vacuum or inert blanketing. So distillation of this flammable materials should be undertaken at a vacuum or inert blanketing conditions. Even on distillation vessels, a safety valve or explosion vent should be provided to take care of any accidental pressure, flare, condenser, vent gas condenser, or incinerator should be provided if required. So whenever these gases happens, even if we see in the petroleum refineries, you used to see the flare. It is always burning. Whatever the escaped gases or the gases which is released from the process, it is routed to this flare so that it can be burned off. Otherwise, if you are not burning it off, so they can form a flammable mixture in the atmosphere. In case of any ignition source, it can explode. Then toxic reactions. So for handling of toxic or handling acids or alkalis or other toxic chemicals, workers must provide with a suitable protective appliances such as rubber or PVC hand gloves, gumboots, safety goggles, apron, etc., and a suitable posters showing dangerous properties of these chemicals, and also safe working procedures should be prominently displayed. It does not mean that only for the toxic reactions. For the other reactions also, we can display this dangerous properties of chemicals like the hazards associated with that chemicals, and also safety precautions. Then safe operating procedures also need to be displayed. Then arrangement for combating spills of these chemicals such as water showers or the pipe for covering up should be available nearby, and the workers should be trained in the use of these chemicals and safety equipment before giving responsible job independently. So whoever the workers or working in these reactions, they must be trained on these chemicals based on the properties in case of spillage, in case of leakage, how they can handle, and safety equipment before responsible job independently. Then suitable scrubbers, absorbers, or neutralizers for inorganic gas or vapor, condenser for organic vapor should be provided and also well maintained. Since it is in toxic reactions, we have to have scrubbers or absorbers to contain immediately. Okay, and the next measures is emergency uh, shutdowns. So because of operational deviations, as discussed in previously, any other reasons or failure of safety and control devices when emergency rises and situation seems to be out of control or aggravating, it becomes necessary to shut down or shut down the plant or a part of the plant. So emergency shutdown is also the utmost important, how they can safely uh, shut down the process or hold the process to avoid the further damage. So how we can do it? First of all, we have to cutting off the heat source or starting of the cooling. Maybe the emergency is not happened, but in your equipment, maybe some other production line, if they declare emergency, you can't leave this reactor as it is. Otherwise, if you leave that reactor as it is and then you run away from there, this reactor also can tend to or create emergency situation. Okay. So first of all, we have to cut off the heating source and activate the cooling system. Then stoppage of addition of new materials. In case of any additional new materials is going to come and join with this reaction, you have to stop it Then stage of mixing in the sense agitation. So you have to stop the agitation or stirring. Okay. Then dilution of internal substances or reaction mass. If it is possible, we can the dilute the reaction mass to avoid the uh, reduce the concentration of the chemical. Then flooding by water if it is effective. So if it all to reduce it, you can also mix with water if it is an effective measure. Then inert gas purging. So you can also supply purge with nitrogen so that we can avoid the formation of flammable gas mixture within the vessel. Then emergency bypass, transferring the material. Transferring the material from the reaction vessel to the dump tank. Then inactivating the catalyst. Okay, these are the methods. One is you have to immediately cut off the heating source and we have to start the cooling system. Okay, then we have to stop adding of materials and also stopping of uh, mixing, which is nothing but agitation. Then dilution of the material. When you say dilution, reducing the concentration. Okay. Then inert gas purging, so that it can able to avoid the formation of reaction mixture. Then emergency bypass or inactivating the catalyst. Then use of vessels, equipments, and control room. So many vessels and equipments are used in the chemical processes, like for the storage vessels, reactors, distillation vessels, transfer vessels, holding vessels, the vessels, uh, measuring vessels, open or closed vessels, pipelines, and also variety of equipments are used as per the design and also need of the process. Basically, their material of construction, like MOC, should be studied as stated in safety point of view. They should be used in an enclosed manner as far as possible, like acids, alkali, solvents, and dangerous chemicals should not be handled in the open bucket or container. So now we'll talk about the what are the different uh, types of vessels based on material of construction, which means based on the type of material it is manufactured. Like for example, steel, glass, plastic. In the plastic also will have different types of plastics: HDPE, PE, polyethylene, PVC, etc., etc. So this MOC also is very important when you are handling the chemicals. Okay. So with this, I've done this topic. Any questions? We have threats. So basically, in this chemical chapter, they may ask you to write list of unit process or unit operations, and also one example. Another question may be listing the contents in the MSDS, and also what are the hazards associated with the chemicals or the types of different types of chemicals. These kind of questions you will get. You need not to. I mean, you will not get any writing, or they may ask you to write what is mean by exothermic reaction, or they can write ask you definition of the exothermic reactions. Okay. Okay, fine. If no questions, I'm winding the session for today. We can join tomorrow with a new topic.
Sir,
Thank you.
sir,